والسلام على أشرف خلق الله محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I would like to welcome all of you today on the second talk in the Islamic Awareness Week. In today's talk, Brother Abdullah will share with us the story of his journey to Islam and what made a boy at the age of 10 questioning his life and then converting to Islam. Brother Abdullah is a former Christian Portuguese descent. He embraced Islam at a young age after a period of study that started when he was 10 years old. He has continued to study Islam in depth ever since. He has a long experience in working in the Muslim community and his activities involved studying and talking extensively on Islamic revivalism, theology and philosophy. He has delivered talks throughout the UK at Community Centre University College and appearance on various TV programs. Currently, he's a member of the Muslim Debate Initiative. Please welcome Brother Abdullah Al Andalusi.
Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, yeah, I can hear myself. Right. Just get started. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على النبي الكريم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين وصحبه الصالحين. Assalamu alaikum and greetings to everyone for attending this talk where I'm asked to talk about myself, oddly enough. And if anyone sees the kind of events that I do, I talk mostly about very emotionless and bland subjects. And I was thinking how I'm going to talk about myself in that situation. In terms of, I suppose, my life and my encounters with Islam and my encounters with religions and my encounters with background, I suppose the interesting question is, and I suppose what we come here today to really try to understand is not whether I'm, as Abdullah, embrace Islam or not, but rather why anyone would embrace Islam, or why anyone would question the faith or the ideas or the culture of which they grew up in, and take a different turn in life, a different course in life. I never envisioned myself, certainly 20 years ago, being a Muslim. I didn't really know much about Islam. I was a typical, I suppose, school kid at the time, interested in football, although not so much, supporting England through their many defeats in the international arena, and feeling the pain, as everyone else did, seeing that, which was a very strange and curious effect, looking back on it now. And I suppose I came from a central London background. My mother is from Portuguese descent. My father came from Reverted. I think it's a feedback loop. I think it's the microphone. Oh, okay. Only all problems in life will solve so easily. Right, so there I was as a school kid. My mum is from a Portuguese background. My father comes from a French background. But I've been associated mostly in my life with my Portuguese background. I go to Portugal every year. I can speak Portuguese, or I also speak French as well, actually. And in that sense, I was always, in some ways, an immigrant or a second-generation immigrant to England. But because I was white and spoke English like a typical Londoner, I viewed myself as English or English white. So that was kind of the background at that time. And basically growing up in that situation, I was trying to think what made myself different, what made me different from everybody else, that I took a different direction in life. I went to church for Mass, as everyone else did. I went to a Church of England school. I didn't know the difference between Catholics and Church of England at the time. They all looked Christian to me. And in that situation, I learned about religious values in the Mass every week. I was inculcated with morality at school, at home. My household environment was generally, my mum was very permissive of myself, so she wasn't too strict on me, but my father was more strict on myself than my mum. but mostly because he was very protective, and my father had that kind of paranoia that something would happen to his kids, some stranger would pop out from nowhere and hijack me and whatever, or my brother. So in that situation, that was kind of the situation in which I grew up. A typical Londoner child at primary school, which is where the events take place. And for one reason or another, when I was learning about my first encounters with different religions, especially like Muslim, which I didn't really know much about apart from don't eat pork and something about a guy called Muhammad. So that was pretty much the scope and limit of my understanding about Islam at the time. But for me, I just thought Christianity was basically the basic truth which I lived by. I wasn't so much of a practicing Christian, but modern Christianity does not have any law system. There's no comprehensive law. So how do you define a practicing Christian is it's subject to difference of opinion. But I was certainly very devout, and I had a fear of hell. I was always motivated by this fear of hell. It didn't stop me from doing bad things as a kid, but I had a guilty conscience most of the time. So that was one thing. Then at some point when I reached about 9 or 10 years old, a question popped into my head. I'm not exactly sure how or where it came from, but when I was learning about different cultures around the world, I asked myself a simple question: is my religion dependent on my geography? So is it where I live or where I come from, some accident of birth, some accident of location, culture, immigration, whatever, that determined what I believe and what is the truth? And I thought, well, that can't be. That sounds absurd. If I was born in India, would I be a Hindu? If I was born elsewhere, I'd be a Muslim or a Buddhist or any other, or Rastafarian. If I was born in Jamaica, I don't know all Jamaicans are Rastafarian. It's a misconception. So, is it geography that determines your belief? And I thought that can't be the case. I have to find out. But then obviously Christianity is actually an exclusivist religion. So other religions, if you follow another religion, then you're destined to hell. You're going to burn in hell. Though there are some more pluralistic Christian interpretations in the modern world, but traditionally that was the case. And I became very paranoid about following falsehood or following something that might not be true, and then paying for it in an afterlife. And so I made my first deal with God. And I remember it was a strange, I don't know if it was a supplication or some kind of prayer. I just said to God that, because I always believed in God, and that was unquestionable in my mind. But I said, I don't want to offend you, God, by following something that's untrue, sorry. I don't want to offend you, God, by following something that is incorrect or was made up. So I'm going to leave Christianity. I'm going to depart from my religion. I'm going to still believe in you, but could you please show me the truth, and I'll follow it. I promise I will follow it, and whatever that truth might be, I will tell it to the world as best as I can. Now, when I was 10 years old, I was very naive, and I thought to myself, because it's very culturally accepted that there's one question that no one can answer, which is, what is the meaning of life? Right? Everyone talks. There's like Monty Python did a whole film about it. And that everyone just accepted that what's the meaning of life, a question that can't be answered. So I just took that on face value, and I believed in it. And there were different religions and different beliefs and perspectives. So I said to myself, maybe no one knows what the truth is yet. So maybe if I study all these religions and all these belief systems and every perspective that you can imagine, and I put it all together, I can work out what the truth is and then tell it to the world. Like, me, a 10-year-old boy, is going to achieve something that humans haven't done for thousands and thousands of years. And so as you could tell, I was just a little bit naive as a young kid. So I embarked on my study. I found any book I could find from the local library about any religion that you can imagine. Jainism, Buddhism, different sects of Christianity, cults, Wiccans, white, black magic practices, Rastafarianism, believe it or not, Mormons, Moonies, atheism, and the science, which was quite interesting. There's no connection between atheism and science, by the way, but science was interesting because science always seemed to give answers. And I was looking for answers, and so science was promised it gives answers, and so I thought, okay, I'll use that as a means to find answers for my purpose. And Buddhism had some resonance with myself as well, because in Buddhism, it believes in a search for truth, in a search for enlightenment. So I thought that Buddhism could possibly offer me some aspects, some key ingredients required for my journey to find this truth. And all the while around me, at the time, this was in the 90s, in the early 90s, there was this massive backlash against racism at the time. So there was a lot of liberal campaigns ongoing against racism. And it got so fanatical at the time that people who weren't racist, or weren't being racist, even in my class, got paranoid that they were racist. And for example, a friend in my class was looking at some black and white cartoons in a newspaper, and to delineate a person of brown skin or black skin, they had lines drawn, shading lines. Every artist knows the shading lines. And the guy said, oh, they've got these lines on this person's face. That's racist. And it's like, they were going absolutely paranoid. And I started to kind of take a step back from society at the same time. And I saw that there was something terribly wrong about the society I was living in. That humans seem to be prone to paranoia, to making each other miserable in that society, that people have the freedom to make each other miserable, to frustrate each other, to compete with each other. You have to fit into social norms, and fine, I could fit into those social norms, but I started asking myself a question, why should I fit into those social norms? How do I know that's the right way to live? It doesn't make people any happier. People seem to be in a chaotic mess, and hurting each other, affecting each other, being selfish, self-centered. It was a lot of questions. I was questioning both what is the truth, what is out there, what's the meaning of life, and also how should we live as human beings? What is the purpose of, how do we organize ourselves, and how do we manage that crazy chaotic animal called the human being? So I was asking all these kind of questions at that time, and I became more and more aloof from my classmates, and I became more and more aloof from, I suppose, the common enjoyments of that society, being a young kid and doing the things that young kids do. Because they started to become mundane, the world became a bit more mundane for me. It seemed that the more I participated in society, following what I was told to do, what I was meant to be doing, the more I forgot about these questions and didn't see their importance. And no one seemed to ask the same question as me. It was strange. I thought something wrong with me. Everyone is thinking about how to live their lives, what choice they should make, in what career or profession. No one ever asked themselves why they are living. It's strange. You thought that was the most basic question. If you woke up on a desert island, you didn't know how you got there, and you didn't know what's around you. The first question you said, like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? What's my purpose here? What am I doing here? No one asks themselves the question. Everyone just accepts what society tells them is what you should be doing. You should be enjoying life, living life to the max, a very self-centered view, and this is in obviously the modern Western context. And it was that I started to have some issues with. Now, to be fair, a lot of my personality at the time was a product of the society I was born into. I was a product of that society. I had the same viewpoints as a lot of people, the right and the wrong, and the good and the bad, and so on. It was very similar, but I just started to ask questions. And I started to go through the religions, because the religions I thought was a good place to start. Religion's trying to give you a why, explain why things exist, what you're doing here, and so I thought, okay, I'll start with that, and that eventually, when I know what the why is, then I can go to how society could be organized to be better, because it didn't feel right. Something about society it wasn't natural. There was something, human beings weren't meant to be in this circumstance. It wasn't natural. So I went through the religions. I went through Christianity. Christianity had many, obviously, ideas it postulated. I had left all these ideas behind, such as, death, resurrection, the miracles, or the flood of Noah, and all these. I left all these ideas behind, thinking that they were similar to, Greek mythology. at the time. I just thought it's just Greek mythology. Greeks had also some, what appeared to be strange ideas about magic and miracles and things. So I thought, okay, there's nothing to substantiate Christianity, and it doesn't seem to be giving any higher laws or things to mankind. No special secret that will explain existence. So I moved on, and I went to Buddhism, thinking obviously that, as I said, Buddhism has this kind of desire to being enlightened and work out what your purpose in life is. But then it occurred to me, Buddhists say that the purpose of your life is to be enlightened. And to be enlightened is to work out the meaning of life or your purpose of life. But isn't that circular? So the purpose of life is to work out my purpose in life. But I already know my purpose in life, but I don't. And it seems to be circular. And also this karmic system, they didn't believe in a God, but they believe in a system of karma where if you do bad deeds, it comes back to you at some point in this life or next, or other lives. And if you do good deeds, that will come back to you in this life or the next. But what I didn't understand is who instituted that system in the Buddhist worldview. Who's monitoring it, who's checking it, and who's delivering you back your bad karma you did, or delivering back to you the good karma. Who's checking it, and why is it there? And also ideas such as that human beings or our soul originally are divine or came from a higher being, or possibly, which is actually a Hindu understanding. And there are various shades of Buddhism and Hinduism where they overlap. And in the Hindu understanding, which also believes in seeking enlightenment and reincarnation, they believe that basically we come from God, and we are all split into, we're all parts of God, and we have to go back to God. So our aim is to seek enlightenment that will bring us back to God. But my question was, why did God split up into different pieces? Why are we all ignorant? God's all-knowing, or has infinite knowledge, so why are we ignorant? And why do we have to come to a realization of something to go back to our former state? It didn't make no sense. There was no explanation. It was just, well, yeah, this is what we believe. And say, yeah, but I don't see how, I don't see why, I don't see how God can become ignorant and split into different parts. It didn't make any sense. So I left that one behind, although that was actually much later in my life. And then I came to all these different, cults and beliefs about magic and black and white magic and Wiccan beliefs and various pagan cults. And again, it just seemed like, Greek mythology. And again, at this time I was in my secondary school, so this is around 12 years old, and I was starting my, science classes at the secondary level, and I was reading, GCSE level books on physics, which I absolutely loved. And I thought science will give me some answers. And I believed, actually, funnily enough, I believed in God, but I believed the universe was eternal, because that's what scientists had told me. And it was very strange at the time, looking back at it, because scientists didn't show me an experiment that said the universe is eternal. They didn't show me, how they worked it out, or some mathematical equation they used to get to that, understanding or that concept. Instead, they just said it, and we all trust scientists in our society. But they wouldn't lie. They never get anything wrong, apart from everything in physics up until now. So steady state theory for the universe, where they actually believe the universe has always been like this, was popular amongst scientists. There was a consensus of scientists in the mid-20th century. That was refuted by evidence for the Big Bang. That got thrown out the window. Newtonian physics, believed for hundreds of years, got thrown out the window by relativity and Einstein's discoveries. And of course, quantum mechanics has caused more trouble for scientists who had holding to previous opinions. So, but I didn't know this. I was led to believe, like most people living in the West, that scientists know the truth, and people listen to Stephen Hawking talk about God and talk about, he doesn't know. How would he know about God, or how would he know about the age of the multiverse? Even the idea of a multiverse where there's infinite universes, there is no empirical proof for it at all. It's not mathematically deduced. It's not inferred from any experiment or any mathematical equation. It's literally an explanation that atheist scientists came up with to avoid the requirement for a starting point, an initiator, a creator. But I didn't know that at the time. I believed it. It took actually me into my teenager, when I became a teen, that I actually realized that there was no proof of that at all. And it was quite strange. I believed in science. So this made me unpopular in class because I'd always basically, speak out and say, but why is this wrong? And everyone looks at me like, how dare you question this is wrong? Why are you being such a fusspot? Why are you being the black sheep? And I wasn't scared to say my opinions, and it got me into trouble. And I ended up having lots of fights with people, and they were almost initiated by them. I actually never initiated a single fight in my life, but I just had to finish those fights when they were initiated. But the teachers always thought that I was the aggressive one because every time there was a fight, I was involved, it seemed. But it wasn't my fault, so I said. Now, I suppose then this propelled me to more research and propelled me because basically I wasn't fitting into society. I put that on myself because I made that choice. I thought I'm not going to follow something blindly, but I didn't have any guidance. I had nowhere to turn. I didn't know how to live, what I was living for. My father told me I should be an ambitious, high-flying executive, and that was the done thing. We used to live in a kind of middle-class way, even though we weren't middle class. But apparently in England, middle class is a mentality, not actually an economic class. In America, you have to have a certain pay grade to be middle class. In England, it's just how you act. So if you lift your pinky up when you drink tea, you're middle class. And so my father was propelling me to be very ambitious and to be a successful businessman of some kind. And he acted that part. So I was believing that until I became a bit more older, and I decided that there was nothing substantial about it. Obviously I have to earn money and provide for myself, but I wasn't going to be defined by how my father would define me. I wasn't going to be defined how society would define me. And the person who helped me a lot through all this was actually my mum, because my mum just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do anything wrong, but she wanted to give me enough space so that I would become whatever I wanted to become. So I think many converts, when you hear many convert stories, they say, oh, my parents reacted very badly when I became a Muslim and it was very difficult. In some cases they get persecuted by their own family when they convert to Islam. In fact, a friend of mine once said that his parents said that I don't mind if you're even Rastafarian or gay or whatever, which was viewed as a taboo by a lot of parents, as long as you're not Muslim. And that was the case. So we were basically worse than religions which are obscure or a sexuality which was considered to be taboo at that time. So there I was, and my mum was very supportive. But my mum, wasn't going to. She didn't believe in Islam, so she wasn't going to encourage me to be a Muslim. But the day I became a Muslim, I always remember it, and it wasn't highly eventful. And in essence, I didn't even know you had to say your Shahada. So when you become a Muslim, you must make a testimony of faith. I thought, when I read it in Islam, I thought it just meant that you had to believe that testimony of faith. I didn't know you had to actually make an official declaration to become a Muslim. And so my Shahada day was basically me going up to my mum in my house, actually in the corridor, and saying, Mum, I think I'll be a Muslim. And she's like, all right, dear, whatever. And like a passing fad, you know how parents are with their kids. Yeah, oh yeah, you're a little soldier, that's great. Or you're a fireman, yeah, that's great. Yeah. And they thought, oh, it's a, passing fad, just a passing fad. 16 years later, I don't think she thinks it's a passing fad anymore. But that, in essence, that was actually when I was 14. Now, I know you might think, but Abdullah, you haven't told us how you actually came into Islam, what persuaded you. It was actually a very gradual thing. You become a Muslim, and then you realize you become a Muslim. That's how it works. It's not like you become, you realize that you must be a Muslim, then you convert. It's rather you realize at a point that you're already a Muslim, and then you convert into Islam. And that's what most converts are. You actually already are a Muslim by the time you convert. I didn't know about the Shahada at the time, as I said. But when I encountered Islam initially, so I'm going to rewind the clocks from that point of my Shahada day to about a year. The first thing I encountered about Islam was, obviously believed in one God. It was very simple. And I thought because Islam is so simple, it doesn't have much truth in it. There must be something secret. There must be a secret truth that no one knows. Like in Buddhism, it promises a secret truth, and this is what a true religion will tell you the secret truth, or a true way of life will tell you the secret truth. And Islam just seems to be just like, yeah, God made us, and we're here to worship Him. There you go. And there's 5 pillars of what you practice. But that's too simple. It's too simplistic. No. Islam can't be the truth. There must be something deeper I'm not seeing here. And then one day I bumped into just this one concept. At that time, there wasn't this, hatred against the Sharia or Muslims as much as it is today. In fact, at that time there wasn't much known about Islam, and the media weren't demonizing Muslims as heavily as they were demonizing them now. So at that time, all I knew about Islam in its kind of overt manner was just the woman's hijab. That's all I knew about Islam. And at the same time, and you might think, what's this got to do with my talk? There was a series on TV called Ali McBeal. Now you're thinking, how the hell am I going to connect Ali McBeal to Islam and my conversion story? Well, I thought to myself, why does Islam want women to wear hijab? What's the purpose? What's it trying to achieve? I mean, religion, as I was told by my society, is a spiritual matter. So why is Islam now putting forward a social political regulation? What's it trying to achieve with this? It's very odd. I don't see religion doing that. And so I thought about it. And that's how I work. I try to think about it until it makes sense. And then it occurred to me, because I was watching Ali McBeal, maybe not the time I was watching Ali McBeal, and that's my dark secret. I watched Ali McBeal when I was younger. I've since repented from that. I realized Ali McBeal was all about sexual politics in the office. It was all about sexual tension, and it's all funny. It's about how these hilarious situations play out with sexual tension in the office. And I realized something, that it seems to me that what Islam is trying to look at, or try to achieve, is to eliminate sexual tension and sexual politics from society, so that people could go out into society and work and do their job, and not have to think about how they're going to chout their workmate, or how they're going to seduce their boss or their secretary or whatever. I thought, yes, the office isn't for sex. What a radical idea. And that's what it hit me, that Islam actually was trying to do something good in society. And I thought, if we have a purpose in life as human beings, then surely this purpose in life must address every aspect of human life. You know how secular society tells us that, yes, religion over here, human life over there. So how you live your lives, your society, your government, all these political issues are detached from religion. So how we live our life is detached from why we are living, and why we are living our lives. Makes no sense. I don't know why people accept this, but it's accepted truth. And I believed that until Islam pointed out to me that you believe in a purpose. This purpose has ramifications for every aspect and every level of human existence. And then it piqued my interest. If Islam says something good like that, what else does Islam say? I'm curious. And my natural state was of a skeptic. So the reason why I went through all these different religions, researching it and discounting it, was I was trying to find things to discount. Because I was trying to eliminate the inconsistencies and falsehoods and find what is the truth. And so I approached Islam the same method. I tried to find holes and gaps and inconsistencies in Islam. Phenomena of nature that Islam doesn't explain or can't explain, or it seems that nature is bigger or grander than Islam could encompass or provide narrative for. When it seemed in every situation, in every aspect that Islam addresses, it made sense, it fitted together with its sort of holistic worldview, and it seemed to explain human existence. I'll explain further. We have free will, right? We have the ability to choose. No, inanimate objects like the table and the chair don't have the ability to choose. So, if God exists and He made us, then there must be something significant about our ability to choose, related to what He intends for us to do. So whatever our purpose in life is, it must be connected with our ability to choose. So what does God want us to choose? And of course, you know, we live and we work within life's affairs, and everything in the universe, like human beings, everything in the universe has laws, like laws of physics. I told you I like physics. So I really, you know, inanimate objects have laws, we have laws, a natural law of human existence, if you will. So surely then, there must be a relationship between our natural law of what something should be intended for us and our ability to choose. And it seemed, and then Islam said that God created us to worship Him, to submit to the law, the laws intended for us, like everything in creation submits to its natural laws. So we have a natural law about human beings created, well, part of our creation, and we should submit to this natural law so that to sanctify the Creator who made us, because everything in creation fulfills its natural law, and hence is it echoes the might and the glory of the Creator who made them. And it seemed to make sense. All these aspects were actually mind-blowing, and they seemed to make sense. So we were not here. I was told by liberalism, by the state ideology, that the purpose of life is to enjoy life. Your purpose of your life is to enjoy it. I was told this. I believed it. I was self-centered. I was selfish. But how the culture is, I have to pretend that I'm not selfish, but I was like everyone else I knew. And of course, when you know in these comedies that you watch on TV, when people act selfishly and everyone laughs at it because you're not meant to do it openly. You're not meant to openly declare that you're selfish. You had a self-centered